Please subscribe and don't forget to press the bell icon to get notified whenever we upload a new video.
So we are not talking about impact on RIL itself, because these announcements are entailing launch eventually. Mainly, I think it's the Giga Fiber, the much expected fiber to home, where the launch is going to be, the registration start on August 15, and the expectation is to cover 1,100 cities. That's one big announcement. The second big announcement is on the new e-commerce platform, which is expected to connect physical and digital marketplaces, and that is expected to, of course, mean a material change to small offices, small shops, kirana stores, and can materially change life for them. We do not know whether this is as yet a competition to even Amazon, but it is connecting physical and digital marketplaces. And the third announcement is on the phone itself, a new phone which is going to be available at a little under 1 rupee, under 3,000 rupees. And as for the old phone, it's actually become much cheaper. You can exchange the old feature phone for, and I think all of us have old feature phones in addition to our new phones, and that new phone, the old Jio phone, will be available at 500 rupees. This is the Jio part of the announcement, and of course it has grand plans to offer smart home solutions, especially the Giga Fiber launch. On the energy business, there isn't anything new except perhaps reiteration, nor is there anything different in terms of the announcement in CapEx. The old 250,000 crore that was announced remains. Just one more word before we invite all our guests. Also equally important as this was happening was the Karnataka budget, which has put in a budget of 34,000 crores of farm loan waivers. It says all defaulted loans up to December 31st, 2017, and those who have repaid will also get an incentive. They will get 25,000 rupees paid back to them. So that comes is as populist as it gets, so be prepared for much worse as more elections come later on in the year. But this was election promise, so whether it is NDA or UPA, be prepared for these kind of largesse. We will attend to that in a bit, but first, of course, Hathway Cable is down 16%. Encroachment into the cable space first, Reema?
Yes, so directly an impact on the broadband players. So the broadband players in India include a Hathway, a DEN, a Tata Sky, and Airtel D2H. In that, the listed players will be Hathway as well as DEN. While Airtel also has a D2H presence, it's a very small portion of their overall business, and they've announced plans to sell it to Warburg Pincus. So as of now, the direct impact will be on Hathway as well as DEN. For Hathway, 35% of their revenues comes in from broadband, while for DEN, it's about 10%. Let's talk about Dish, because Dish TV has not been impacted. Mukesh Ambani has indicated that along with providing broadband, he will also be providing other services like cable TV, video conferencing, smart home solutions. So yes, cable TV will also be impacted, which is where Dish comes into the picture, which is why we thought even Dish TV would get impacted. But remember, as of now, Dish TV gets nearly 65% of its revenues from the rural market. And, you know, Jio Giga Fiber will take time to reach there because the launch is going to be very gradual. They're right now talking about registration starting from the 15th of August, and then, you know, based on the kind of inquiries they get and interest they get, they will prioritize in some locations in the 1,100 cities. So those will be largely be your urban cities, which is why Dish TV has managed to go a bit unscathed as of now. So what analysts are saying, yes, the impact is going to be there on the likes of Hathway as well as DEN. On Dish TV, the impact will be less. And even in terms of a direct financial impact, yes, over a 5-year period, it's going to revolutionize the entire broadband space. But because the launch is going to be gradual, immediately at least, it's not going to take away, you know, revenues and users from these players. But markets always discount 5 and 10 years into the future as well.
Oh, yeah. I mean, you know, to me, this was more of a status quo kind of a speech, because the last two speeches, 2016 and 2017, had been really disruptive, right? I mean, in terms of pricing and all of those things. So this was kind of building on what had already been announced in all areas, except maybe that e-commerce thing, which we will need to put out more details on. But otherwise, I mean, expanding on what has already been announced, and I think it's visible in stock prices. Usually, we've seen last 2 years, 1st September 2016, Jio was announced. I mean, 2016, 2017, the big telecom stocks always sold off. I mean, they're marginally lower, in line with what the rest of the market is doing.
Just some increment news income, nothing disruptive
Nothing
on.
disruptive, nothing
It's already disrupted it in our.
Okay, guys, let's get to our experts who are waiting by. First, you, Mr. Tusan, what have you made of the announcements? Is there anything game-changing for Reliance, or is it more game-changing or game-spoiling for the Hathaways of the world?
Lata, before I reply on that, what I found innovative is the complementing refinery and petchem on one side and retail and geo on the other side. And I think this will be having far-reaching implications. May not be able to dig out the benefits now, but if you have first heard on the Reliance refinery and petchem, the things have all been said, the configuration of the refinery so as to give the benefits to the Reliance petrochemical, to the petchem segments, and the case in point is the refinery off-gas cracker, which is the largest in the world. So I think these things will really be driving the existing business. Now come on the complementing the Reliance Jio with retail, because we all know that retail is all supported by the digital, and the kind of focus they have kept on maybe education, healthcare, entertainment, agri products, I think are all going to give a very good growth even to retail. Because if you really see first 50 minutes, the focus has been on the Reliance on the Jio and retail, and maybe about 10-15 minutes were spoken on the existing business of refinery and petchem. But I think that the kicker, let me again say that the death knell again has come for the second round of these sectors, that is the cable and the direct to home companies, maybe like Hathway, Den Network, or maybe for Dish TV for that matter, if not now, maybe in the longer term. Because ultimately you are giving the super house, in terms of the connectivity and the transmission, where you can have all type of facilities available, in terms, whether you are talking of the entertainment channel viewing, or maybe video conferencing, or maybe the connectivity. So I think this is truly capturing the benefits which one can derive from the digital India by complementing Jio and retail.
Okay,
Prakash, do you believe they are taking on the Flipkarts and Amazons of the world? They spoke a little bit about e-commerce, as well as integrating their retail as well as digital platform. Is that going to be the next big disruption or revolution from Reliance Jio?
No, absolutely. I mean, there's no announcement to that effect, but this is definitely paving the way for enabling that kind of an ecosystem to be built and built very rapidly. Two things that stand out. One, I was quite startled at the fact that they've added 4,000 stores, which is probably all large modern trade formats put together. If you add, it's much more than that. And if they were to start focusing themselves as a retail consumer, direct consumer-oriented company, this dependence on cyclicality on the petchem and refining business will no more be a negative for the stock. And the e-commerce platform, remember, they are not talking about selling only a category of product. It's all services which include education, entertainment. And the next disruption will be once the pricing of the FTTH model comes through, which we have not heard of. Yes. And the second level of disruption, which Prashant very rightly mentioned, that there's nothing disruptive about this speech. Probably the pricing will be the trigger. And the second is going to be the potential of bundling content once you have FTTH going. On mobile phones, there was a limitation. Now you're talking about saying, I'm going to give you high definition TV content.
All screens.
All screens, absolutely. You have a pad, you have a television screen, you have phones. And that's where, the Alt Balaji kind of acquisition will start making such a lot of sense. And then probably see more of those
kind of acquisitions or engagements. I mean, at the moment it disrupts perhaps Hathway and Dish TV.
Yeah,
but
that's only the
this is actually
guys.
A new offering altogether. And of course, disruptive for the old telephone guys. Because why would you want to go to someone who is not offering you this entire package? No, so there could be a bit of a disruption.
So Dish TV, for instance, already launched this a la carte kind of a thing, 8.5 rupees per channel and all that, to make themselves ready for a predatory pricing on the FTTH, as and when it happens. Right now, it's a rollout on 1,100 cities. It's going to take much longer.
It is an eventual disruption because it's not going to be easy to get to every home, but maybe we want to get Naveen Kulkarni, who's been waiting by.
So Prakash's point, we don't have the price, right, for fiber to home.
No, we don't.
But Karan is with us. Karan, Karan or Naveen, let's start with you, Karan. If they start charging for fiber, the infrastructure is already laid out, right? I mean, they've already invested in that. Now you can start registering for the fiber to home from the 15th of August. At some point they start charging for it. What kind of revenue numbers will you build? What is the average ARPU that you will build, and what is the opportunity there?
So the opportunity is very huge on the broadband internet space. So if you see in a country like India, your mobile penetration is roughly about 60-70%, mobile internet penetration. But the broadband penetration still remains to be very low in the range of 15 to 20%. So this kind of a thing will really push up the broadband penetration, and that will really impact DTH, and my sense it will also impact the TV channel players. Because what you're going to see is clearly, viewership moving towards the internet, and you will not need basically TV channels to be viewed upon. You'll need more of digital content which can be viewed. And with the likes of Netflix, Amazon, and Alt Balaji investing huge amount of money into original content only for the web, it will really impact the TV channels as well in the medium to long term.
Yeah, actually, because those who have this testing facility from RILAGM have actually switched on to Netflix on their television. And then you can, once again use your phone for whatever it is after just switching on television to whatever you want to see. So it can really take away from television channels also and provide, unique content like Netflix content. But let me get the retail e-commerce platform that is integrating the physical and the digital marketplace. Naveen Kulkarni, how revolutionary is this, and who may be the impacted parties?
So the integration of retail and the physical and the digital platforms is probably the most interesting piece of the Reliance AGM. It might be a very long-term gestation project, but it could, in terms of revenues, this could be a very, very large revenue potential, because developing the digital platform is not the biggest challenge at this point in time, because they already have a digital platform. The physical platform is already there. The back-end infrastructure can also be robustly developed. So that presents a very, very interesting piece, according to me. What is the revenue potential? The revenue potential is immense, and margins and all are going to be something.
Revenue potential when, Naveen?
So this revenue potential, probably we could be looking at this project from a 2 to 3 year kind of a perspective is what my sense would be at this point in time. So on the other side, the FTTH, that I think is quite close to
Closer.
that. Yeah, so the revenue potential from that should start.
What could be the potential? I mean, what kind of how many subscribers are we talking about? I mean, if you had to make assumptions on an Excel sheet, subscribers multiplied by some imaginary ARPU.
Well, on subscribers on FTTH, they did say 50 million, 5 crore. That's their target. They've just not given a timeline, so it was in one of the slides.
So, and total is how many right now, users?
Total households, 277. So we're talking about 50 million. 277 million. They're targeting 50 million. It's just that no timeline has been given.
Okay, they're targeting almost 1 quarter.
Yeah. Naveen, but what kind of numbers would you build? I mean, that's the easiest to monetize, right? Immediately.
Yeah, so my sense is that this is again a market which is it takes very long, and it's a very slow-moving market in terms of the reaching out to customers. So initially they will be reaching out to the multi-dwelling units in the metros and in the cities, where once you reach, and then probably the number of conversions can be much faster. The flatbeds are going to be a big challenge in tier 2, tier 3 cities. So reaching probably a base of around 10 million from the likes of Reliance is something which is not unforeseeable. I would look at an ARPU of around 1,000 rupees, which will be a triple play kind of an offering, right? So annually you could be looking at a 12,000 rupee kind of ARPU on an annual basis, and 1 crore customer. You could look at, let's say, a 12 to 15,000 crore kind of annual run rate revenues from this business in the initial launch phase.
Naveen, just for perspective, what would Bharti be at? You said you would assume 10 million, right? I mean, subscribers for Reliance. Where is Bharti at now?
Bharti would be at probably be at a similar number, or probably a little higher. I'll have to exactly check on that.
Okay.
So the market share of broadband right now, 58% is with BSNL and MTNL. The second biggest player is Airtel, which is close to 12%. The third player is ACT, or Atria Conversion Technology, at 7%. Then you've got Hathaway at 4%. So the biggest players at 58% is BSNL, MTNL, followed by Airtel.
That,
at
you know, is
12%.
not in the, it's in the non-metros. So, I mean, I don't think that's what they're attacking. As Naveen says, they'll
They're
first
attacking
attack
the
all these
metros.
huge metros where, you know, one connectivity and you get maybe 400 flats or 300 flats, that kind of thing.
But let's get
we have-
Sudeep,
Yeah, let's, Sudeep, your observations from all that you heard.
Well, Lata, I think what is most interesting is the retail piece because what they're planning to create is pretty unique. Look, we have global retail giants, whether it's a Walmart or a Carrefour, and we have retail online large players like Amazon. Globally, I'm talking about, but you don't have yet a combination of a giant who has both the the online as well as the offline capabilities. I think it's a unique thing which they're going to create, and they are of course ideally positioned to create that. They already have the kind of brick and mortar network in place with the largest number of stores on ground with the highest amount of footfalls and revenue. On the other hand, they have an excellent online platform in Jio. Combining these two is absolutely logical, and I think that should create significant value for the Reliance shareholders. Going forward, multiple things, as Mr. Ambani was talking about, can be integrated into that platform and delivered. So
But
that's
Sudeep,
one piece which I think
Sudeep,
clearly stands out. We have been always...
Okay,
Yeah.
no, Sudeep, just a minute. I want to get the financial implications actually because the stock hasn't moved at all. If anything, 1/4% lower. Mr. Tulsian, nothing financial was announced today, right? The 250,000 crore of capex is an old plan that's getting rolled out. So in all this, would you change your earnings numbers or growth numbers for FY19 or 20 or 21?
See, Lata, in none of the AGMs, in fact, I'm not talking only of the Reliance Industries, the financials gets announced. The only thing, you can give the roadmap and all that. So probably then, and let me tell you, I don't have these data, but if you really see, you always have the share price, correcting thereafter. Maybe the exception was last year when 1-to-1 bonus was announced amongst the midst of the AGM by holding the board meeting, in between, which was set up, which was a precedent in itself. So this is always the case that people come with the over by holding the board meeting, in between, which was set up, which was a precedent in itself. So this is always the case that people come with the over expectations. They could not have asked for a bonus from Mukesh Ambani this time because last year he has already pleased the shareholders with 1-to-1 bonus. So this is always the case, and I'm not honestly disappointed with the numbers because if you really take a conservative estimates, I think for FY19, that's for the current year, one can expect an EPS of about 72 rupees, or it will be very difficult to take a call on the retail and the Jio going forward, which can really cheer on the profitability front and the margins also. Because if you really see the retail, they've already beaten all these retail players, the listed ones. Talking together, there are 8 or 9 listed players for FY18. They all had a combined top line of 50,000 crore, while the Reliance Retail had a top line of 70,000 crore. What they are only lacking is the least margin, because Reliance Retail had the least EBITDA margin of 3.7% against maybe 9% by DMart. So I think that this strategy is seen to be quite strategized, that you capture the market, and it will be very easy, which I have said in the beginning, that it will be very easy to combine the offline and online marketing, the brick and mortar and the digital, which they will definitely be aiming and moving in that other league of Amazon kind of thing. So I think this is the strategized things, and there is no point in taking a call on FY20 earnings unless until the things really shape up. And for FY19, I don't think that you have any kind of fear, because Petchem combined with the refinery will continue to be the growth driver, and the larger market shares will get captured by the retail and Reliance Jio, which may not reflect into the financials much in FY19, but that will start reflecting in a very big way in FY20 numbers.
Okay,
All
that
right.
point is taken. Actually, that's what we wanted, Mr. Tulsian, because the stock is flat at this point in time. Thank you very much indeed for joining us with your quick take. You were saying, Rima?
No, I just wanted to actually go across to Deven Choksi as well. Deven, we've all been talking about, their grand e-commerce plans. If you compare it to the likes of Flipkart and Amazon, they're currently loss-making. What about for Reliance Industries? Since majority of the vendors have already tied up with Reliance Retail, whether it's Trends or their electronics platform, can it be a cash positive as well as EBITDA positive venture for Reliance Industries, their e-commerce business?
Yeah, good afternoon. And I'm glad I think this question has come up, I think, for discussion. What my understanding on the subject is that pure play B2C model in the marketplace in e-commerce is non-profit making or a loss making model either for Amazon or for Flipkart, largely because of I think the cost pertaining to the distribution of this particular product, which is logistic cost which is added to that, I think is a loss making proposition here, not the transaction making. Transaction making is still profitable, but I think the last mile is non-profitable. So in such situation where you want to make the profit, I think you need to have an integrated model. An integrated model is one wherein you have a supply chain management on the back end side, because generally I think in e-commerce space, I think if you have a powerful supply chain management established, it would result into better kind of a what we call profit performance for the company because of your ability to source at a lower price. And then you distribute it, I think, in the front end through the marketplace platform, which is an e-commerce platform. So as I was making a point in the morning also, that time is basically to combine the offline to online, which we call it O2O2 model, wherein I think you ensure that your ability to buy material at a cheaper price is getting distributed, I think, efficiently into the front end, and that's where I think you make larger amount of profits in this particular business. So Reliance is typically moving with that spirit, both on B2C side of the business as well as the B2B side of the business.
Okay, Deven, we have an audio problem. We will, recheck and come back to you. Before we go to our other guests, Kritika, our representative, or rather our reporter who was at the AGM, is joining us. Kritika, we've got all those big announcements. Of course, we were live with the AGM speech itself on the Giga Fiber, on the new RILAGM phone, on the integration of the physical and the digital marketplace. Give us more color. What else did you pick up?
Well, let me go through it one by one. Essentially, yes, we spoke about the Jio subscriber base increase. It's 215, slightly more than what we were expecting. Jio Phone has crossed 25 million users. They have launched the Jio Phone 2 for high-end users, and they have a monsoon bonanza offer wherein you can pay 501 rupees and exchange your old phone for a new phone. So what Mukesh Ambani says is that effectively reduces the price of the phone. Now, let me go a little bit more into detail of the Jio Giga Fiber launch. The registration for it, Lada, starts on the 15th of August, but the pricing, etc., hasn't been at least launched and announced yet. We don't know the exact date of the formal launch, but yes, what they say is that the potential of this is to be able to create and connect 50 million homes. This is going to be the base for creating a massive digital platform and creating digital platforms across education, healthcare, agriculture, multimedia, media and entertainment. So what they want to do is launch in one go across 1,100 cities, but that is expected to be, the buzz over here, Lata, is that it will be before the end of the year, possibly by October is what they're saying, but if the registration starts in August, we should have some clarity then.
Okay, Kritika,
about the point that you made, Lata, on the new commerce platform, they are going to be integrated.
Yeah. Kritika, you know what? This is what we have been discussing. I'll do one thing. I'll not take you away from the AGM. You can go back and ambush all those biggies who are there and get us what was not said on the speech. We will, of course, come back to you and garner more details of what you are picking up. But yeah, this big phone exchange, the new phone launch, the Giga Fiber going into each home, that's what we have been discussing. The one part which we didn't discuss, of course, is the few petrochemical announcements. And as Mr. Tulsian pointed out, the further integration of refinery and petchem is more likely to improve petchem margins. But Prakash, you were telling us you picked up something else in the announcement.
So what he mentioned, the butyl products, which is the highest in the value chain, is where the margin security comes in, because you've seen this fluctuation on GRMs, pure refining margin, and we've seen them vary from $8.50 to $11.50, and that has been a big variable that impacts the P&L every quarter on quarter. What this does is it makes you very secure in terms of what margin visibility you can offer to the business. So, and remember, 50% still comes from there, and all the capex that's been done is probably the last leg of capex gets over by March of next year, and which means that the ROE
was watching out for whether they will offer any new capex.
Yeah, exactly. So that wasn't mentioned, which means that you will have some visibility on return
for the
ratios.
next couple of years.
Very superior return ratios. And Reliance has never been given a great rating on the hydrocarbon side because the gas thing has been. But the way petchem and now refining will kind of integrate itself, they can take fuel from, crude from anywhere in the world and still make great.
The efficiency of the refinery is super high.
Yeah. So that's going to be, and added to that, you have retail activation of your petrol outlets.
He spoke about that,
which is something which can only grow.
1,300 fully automated.
But have they spoken about expanding that in any?
I only heard the word 1,300.
So he's talking about the ones that have already got activated, and this could continue rolling on, because you've seen OMCs are not able to get that subsidy advantage which earlier they had, which was a big impediment to growth of these retail outlets. So I think that piece is also something which was underplayed. But relatively underplayed, but that's something which will add a lot of spunk to the P&L going forward.
Well, Reliance Industries is actually now down about 0.5%, so it's off about 2.5% from the high point of the day. It's lost some ground.
Yeah, but it's done very well, right? The stock itself, it's for the year, for a year like this, it's up 7%. It saw, almost a doubling over the last 2 years.
If Karan is still with us,
yeah.
Karan, is there any reason why Infosys is down about 5%? Did we miss some news? There was a tax dispute, but that was an ongoing thing.
I think that there was just generally this buzz that, maybe numbers are not going to be all that. It's just market buzz numbers, because TCS reports first, right? 10th is TCS and Infosys reports after that.
Karan, any market intelligence you picked up that it should be down 5%?
So nothing of that sort. Just moved the valuation part, I think, or Infosys, which is catching up. The stock has rallied quite a lot in the last 2-3 week trading sessions, and I think that's the reason the stock is down.
Okay. Devin, we managed to reconnect with your audio now. In terms of an EPS impact now on Reliance Industries, based on these announcements, what's your forecast for FY19, FY20? How soon can they start monetizing fiber to home?
Yes, again, I think interesting propositions. I think on core business side, gasification project is basically likely to replace the raw material, and probably I think this is going to add into the profit. So that would probably be the profitability driver. How much it would be on a per ton basis, I think we'll wait for some more calculations to come out. But I think by and large it is going to be profit accretive proposition with the co-gasification project going live. So that is from the core business portfolio. In the Reliance's Geo business, I think the Giga Fiber project, or FTTH as we call it as, I think the interesting proposition here is that all the costs have been laid down. In fact, I think the point which was made in the AGM, that currently they are only utilizing 20% of their fiber capacity, which means the headroom is about 80%. And if you start connecting the FTTH, which means I think the landline, the cable TVs and the internet service provider business into one, probably you are talking about leveraging this entire infrastructure to a larger amount of applications, and that's where I think the profitability would be on a higher side. As I would like to call it as, I think if you end up adding 10 crore new customer through this FTTH proposition, probably I think the exponential growth in the profits would be, I think, far more significant than what we have seen otherwise. So that is an area where I think you could see 1920 as a year in which you will see the larger part of the profits coming in. How much the number would be, I guess I think we'll have to do a lot of arithmetic on paper and then come up with it. But definitely I think it's going to be a profit which probably be equal to what Reliance currently is generating, coming up only from the Geo platform. I think that's what I think the likely proposition would be. Whether it would be in 1920 or 2021, I think it's a number calculation that one will have to arrive at some point of time.
Yes, and I think we will leave you all to do that. I know that we've been faced with a barrage of visionary statements from the Reliance chairman and what it means in terms of year and month of rollout and number of homes reached and number of businesses reached and the amount of ARPUs they will generate is something that we will have to work out or we will have to get you all to work out in the days to come. So Prakash, Sudeep, Devin, Karan, thank you very much for joining us and analyzing for us all the statements that came out from the Reliance Industries Annual General Meeting. Of course, regular disclaimers, Network 18 and TV18, the companies that operate the channel you're watching are owned by Reliance Industries. It's Randy, the promoter of RILAGM, controls Network 18, which owns CNBC TV18. We have to take a break, but back from the break, we're going to discuss something big which happened while we were listening to the RIL AGM, and that is the Karnataka budget was tabled before the Karnataka Assembly, and that announced a mega farm loan waiver. Impact in a minute after this break.